Welcome back from the break. I'm Adama Munu. High above the crowded streets of Addis Ababa sit two metal domes housing telescopes, each a metre in diameter. Operational for only a few months, the specialised equipment, the first in Eastern Africa, has propelled Ethiopia into an elite club of African countries to have embarked on a space programme. Nicole Sabeki has more on the story.
High above the crowded streets of Addis Ababa sits Ethiopia's space program. Two metal domes housing ultra-modern telescopes, each a metre in diameter. Operational for only a few months, the specialized equipment, the first in Eastern Africa, has propelled Ethiopia into an elite club of African countries to have embarked on the space program.
It is an integral part of any development cycle. Without the help of science and technology, I'm afraid that nothing can be achieved to mass scale. So our main priority has always been to inspire the young scientists and the kids and everything to be involved.
The space program, funded by Ethiopian Saudi business tycoon Mohammed Al-Amoudi, was set up in 2004 to promote astronomy, as well as provide a technical boost to aid in the country's already rapid development. It has a bold mission: to build a society with a highly developed scientific culture that enables Ethiopia to reap the benefits accruing from space science and technology. But its supporters have had to battle to convince the authorities that in a country still one of the poorest in the world, the exploration of space is not a luxury.
The people's idea was to say they are crazy because at that time, the Ethiopia needs to be food security. The attention of the government, the attention of the higher authority is to secure food. Then since we are poor, then this is not a time to start space and technology program. This was the idea.
Over time, support for the program has grown. Ethiopia now plans to build another observatory in the northern mountains around Lalibela, and the government hopes to put a satellite in orbit within 5 years for the monitoring of farmland and to boost communications.
But the space applications are very fundamental. We cannot postpone it. We cannot postpone it. Because postponing that means we are allowing ourselves to live in poverty.
It seems that in Ethiopia, both for those grounded on Earth and with their head in the stars, the prospect of conquering space is an attractive one.
Last April, Ivory Coast banned whitening creams because of the negative health effects associated with them, from white spots and acne to cancer. But many Ivorian women are using creams with dangerous chemicals for de-pigmentation, despite government efforts to stop the practice. Cleophas Masala has this report.
Changing skin tone, no matter what the cost. In Abidjan, as in other African cities, many women want a lighter skin. Florence is a hairdresser and prefers to be pale, despite her natural tone.
I like fair skin tones. I like them. I don't want to blacken. I just don't want to.
Like Florence, a huge number of Ivorian women whiten their skin. They are nicknamed the chachos. Some chachos whiten their skin to follow fashion, but others say they're forced by their husbands.
It's the husbands who push women to do that. It's not the women who love the product. They are forced into it.
Lightening products exist in several forms, like lotions, soaps or creams. Made with mercury, corticoids and hydroquinone, a bleaching agent banned in Europe, these products can cause spots, scars and white blotches, as well as more serious illnesses.
The infectious complications can be easily treated, but the complications such as diabetes, hypertension, renal failure, these complications are so severe that patients will need lifelong follow-ups.
Last April, the Ivorian government banned skin whitening products, but more than 2 months later, they are still on the market. Tinan is a victim of skin whitening products, and she believes the regulation should be stricter.
There are things that are forbidden to sell today that I still see on the market. Personally, I see that regulations are not enough. We also need to educate people.
Education as well as sanctions. The Ivory Coast has set up a national committee to ensure that the ban is effective. Women who flout the ban now risk a fine ranging from 75 to over 500 euros.
Well, to discuss this, I have from our earlier segment Nusrat Lodda, who is a writer and blogger on issues to do with gender and race. We also have Halimat Shode, who is a contributor to Dynamic Africa, which is an African-based platform for news, lifestyle and popular culture. And calling from Ghana, we also have Ama K Abebrese, who is an award-winning Ghanaian actress. She's an ambassador for the Dark and Lovely brand, and 2 years ago in Ghana, she began a campaign, #LoveMyNaturalSkin and #SayNo to skin bleaching, to raise awareness about harmful products like hydroquinone in skin bleaching creams. Welcome all of you to the show.
Thank you.
Well, this is a really touchy and sensitive subject, no doubt, and it's something that you find a lot in forums, on social media. We have events about the politics of black beauty. What are the main causes of this practice? Where do we begin with this? Sister Nusrat.
I think when we look at the main cause of skin bleaching, skin lighting, whatever term that's to be used, we have to think that it comes from a historical basis of being told, whether through colonialism, through slavery, that being dark is inherently bad and that it's lower in status. And because of this, many people have imbibed, particularly within the diaspora and all over the world, such as in the Far East and in places of the Indo-Pakistani subcontinent, that inherently you being darker is bad. And because of this, in order to kind of be seen as of a higher status, you must look like your colonial master or like your slave master in that sense. And as a result, we find people taking this as the standard of beauty and going to extraordinary lengths to attain it. That's generally the root of it, where it lies.
I mean, some people, Halima, would say that this concept of black is beautiful is a very outdated one. I mean, the setting for this was within the cultural movement of the 1960s, where you had activists and other like-minded individuals who tried to, within a situation of oppression, try to uplift themselves. Do you believe that this is something that we should really let go of?
I definitely don't believe that it's something to be let go of. I believe that black is beautiful shouldn't just be a, let's say, a social media movement or something that is just a trend that comes and goes. I believe it's something that has to be placed within each black person, that they have to carry this awareness, this love of self, so they're not constantly being brought down by Eurocentric beauty standards.
I mean, coming back to the story about Ivory Coast, in April they banned, the government decided to ban skin whitening products that were very harmful as a result of the harmful hazards that are associated. So in the video we saw that some of these include white spots, acne, and there have been other links to high blood pressure and diabetes as well. But obviously we could see that so many of these women in the country don't really heed that. I mean, why do you think that is?
I think the reason as to why it is due to, one, desperation. And, you know, they're saying, where there's a will, there's a way. So because of that, people will just be more innovative in the ways that they get hold of a prohibited item. When you ban an item, it makes it more wanted, very much so. So we find, for example, the black market, the underground market, where people will pay extortionate amounts in order to attain this beauty. So the fact that governments have put bans on this has not been a preclusion for actually doing that. And secondly, the idea is it won't happen to me. People tend to look at these kind of problems or implications from using such creams as being, oh, well, it won't happen to me. That's just isolated incidents. Even when we've proven statistically that this is actually the case that can happen to you, they still have this thinking embedded that it won't happen. So essentially it comes down to two things that I just mentioned. Where there's a will, there's a way, and it won't happen to me.
I mean, clearly this is not just an issue for Ivorians. Recently, the Ghanaian government had decided to ban skin whitening products as well with harmful substances. And I just want to come to Ama K for that. You've been campaigning very much for the last 2 years, effortlessly, to get these types of products banned. And this is something that happened just very recently. How do you feel about what you would, I'm sure, would consider a victory?
I'm still like in amazement. I'm still so happy about it. It's quite interesting. Just not too long ago, I got a call from somebody at the FDA who was trying to get in touch with me. He said when he saw my billboard up, he was so happy because this was something that they'd been working on, but obviously these things take time. So he'd been trying to get in contact with me for some reason. It just didn't happen. And so one of the things I realized when I first started to try to do this was trying to get the right channels to get governmental help. So I realized that sometimes you can go and knock and nothing happens. And I tried a few steps and I said, no, I have a following, at least when we kind of, I gather my social media. I have a voice as an actress and I have fans. So I brought together other celebrities who are also very passionate and also very worried about the amount of, women and some men who we see all around us who do this. So, and we just did it. It started, I put up billboards, we did social media, and the whole thing was to get a dialogue going. Because interestingly, one of the things we noticed that even though this phenomenon is all around, we're talking in our churches, in our schools, and we're talking teachers doing it, children, even politicians, it's all around. People tend to whisper behind people's backs. So I'm like, why don't we bring this? Why don't we talk about this? So that was the initial basis of the campaign instead. Start a dialogue is an awareness campaign. And also over in Ghana, billboards pretty much everywhere, usually featuring usually either Middle Eastern women or Asian women or people already mixed race everywhere. And they'll have things like, live your dream, or this is the dream. And it was just so offensive. I was just so offended by it. And there's even a new one which actually took my tagline for the campaign, which was, I love my natural skin tone. And they've got a mixed race person on the billboard advertising skin lightening cream saying, love yourself. And it was like the irony was just too much. So it was just to get that dialogue. And we were about to actually petition Parliament, not knowing this was happening. So yesterday I was just like, wow. They're listening. Now, I think Halima made a good point that it definitely probably will go underground. I don't think we're under any illusion to think that, okay, we'll wake up. And they've given the date August 2016 to stop all importation of skin lightening products or whitening or toning or whatever they call it. There's different names for it that could contain hydroquinone.
Okay. I just wanted to, sorry to interrupt you, I just wanted to ask, because you're on the African continent, you're in West Africa, and a lot of people talk about the whole subject about dark skin, light skin as an American phenomenon. This is something that African Americans have had to deal with, and also people from the Caribbean. Why do you think, in your opinion, that African women want to look lighter? What is this? I mean, because aren't we past the colonial stage, or do you feel that this is just a condition that is still in the minds of a lot of people?
We're past the colonial stage by maybe 50, 60 years. Okay, well, I think Ghana, we're in our 58th year. So if we think 58, 60, 40 years for some countries is not long enough. And I think also, if we look at society, I think colonialism has a part to do with it. I talk to a lot of people, young people especially, who do it. Some of them just say it's just purely fashion. Some of them say because that's what the men like. I realize that a lot of people is not. You can't group everybody's decision for doing it the same. Some people see it as like wearing makeup, and a lot of them also say, well, yeah, I won't get the harmful effects. You name it, I've heard it all. There's people who do it with this, to their children, because maybe they met a man and they married a man, and the man is under the impression that they're lighter skin. So when they have children, they have to do it to their children. So their children obviously are light skinned. There was a report that I read from Dr. Edmund Dele, who's also been an active campaigner for years, about women doing homemade concoctions. They use things like the ones who can't afford the expensive creams, using hair permanent cream, hair relaxer cream, and cement.
Okay, all right, I just wanted to stop you there. Apologies for interrupting you. I mean, Halima, education is very, very important. We saw that in the video as well. What I wanted to ask you is, I mean, aren't people just, why can't people who want to use skin lightening products be entitled to do so? We had a woman called Sidi Olonga who wrote an article in the Telegraph about this. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to come onto the show. Why can't we just let live?
Unfortunately, I don't think skin lightening can be compared to makeup. Makeup is a very surface level cosmetic that you can take off at the end of the day. Skin lightening is something that will affect you for the rest of your life. It's something that it will continue to cause harm to you. You can take off the makeup, the harmful effects will go. You can leave makeup alone. Skin lightening creams, as they said in the video, there's mercury, there's possibly titanium, all these other harmful chemicals. So really you're just killing yourself from the inside.
And education is very, very important, whatever side of the debate you're on, isn't it? But we talk about education sometimes very arbitrarily. I mean, this is something that is ongoing, isn't it? But what kind of education should we afford people who are interested in the subject?
I think education starts from actually from a personal level, and then it manifests outwardly. So instead of people being given speeches about how they're beautiful but despite being dark or whatever, what starts with actually seeing role models out in there. We don't see that generally. When we see the portrayal of black women, it's usually light-skinned black women with the quote-unquote good hair, relaxed, and whipping it back and forth. That's the image we see. We do not see many Lupitas. We don't see many Lauryn Hills. We only just see that. So we have to increase the representation of darker skinned women, not just within the media, but across various spheres of life, to show that, yes, as a woman of dark skin, you can progress. Two, it's changing the colonial mindset that many people sadly have imbibed. You can change the books, but changing the minds of a person is a lot harder. So it's through that all those kind of things can have a domino effect.
Thank you very much for your comments. I'm sure this is an issue that we're going to have to definitely revisit in future. Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have in this episode. I want to thank all my guests for joining us and to you at home for watching. We'll be back next week at the same time. In case you missed the show, a repeat will air tomorrow at 4 p.m. Well, Sierra Leone's last known Ebola patient was released from hospital on Monday, raising hopes that the West African nation may finally have beaten the devastating epidemic. We leave you with scenes of Adama Sankor as she receives her certificate from Sierra Leonean President Ernest Bai Koroma and celebrates with staff at the camp. Have a good evening and a great weekend.
And as this moment, we please for announcing in this country, we will not get any other Ebola patient. So your name will go down in the history of this country for being the last patient, and we hope and pray that you will be the last patient. In behalf of the government and the people of this country, we want to tell God plenty thank you.